Sarah and Mike Thompson had waited 5 long years to become parents. After countless doctor visits and treatments, their dream finally came true when baby Oliver was born on a crisp autumn morning. The young couple brought their precious son home to their cozy house on Maple Street, where their golden retriever Max had been patiently waiting. Max was no ordinary dog. The 6-year-old golden retriever had been with the Thompsons since he was a puppy. He was gentle, intelligent, and seemed to understand human emotions better than most people. When Sarah was going through her difficult pregnancy journey, Max would rest his head on her lap during her tears of frustration. He somehow knew that something special was happening in their family. The moment Sarah walked through the front door carrying baby Oliver, Max's entire world changed. The dog approached slowly, his tail wagging gently as if he understood the fragility of the tiny human in the blanket. Sarah carefully lowered herself onto the living room couch and Max sat beside her, gazing at the baby with curious golden eyes. Oliver was a calm baby who rarely cried. But when he did, something magical happened. Max would immediately appear at the crib, placing his large paws on the side rails and whimpering softly until the baby stopped crying. The parents were amazed by this instant connection between their son and their dog. As weeks passed, Max appointed himself as Oliver's personal guardian. He would lie beside the crib during nap times, his ears perked up for any sound from the baby. When visitors came to meet Oliver, Max would position himself between the guests and the baby, carefully watching every interaction. The dog's protective instincts were stronger than any security system. Sarah noticed that Oliver seemed most peaceful when Max was nearby. The baby would gurgle and smile when he heard the dog's gentle breathing or felt his warm presence. It was as if they spoke a language that only they understood. Even during feeding times, Max would sit quietly nearby, never demanding attention but always ready to help if needed. Mike often joked that they had hired the world's best babysitter without paying a salary. Max took his responsibilities seriously, never leaving Oliver's side for more than a few minutes. When the baby slept, Max slept. When Oliver was awake and alert, Max was right there, watching over him with devotion that touched the hearts of everyone who witnessed it. The bond between Oliver and Max grew stronger each day, setting the stage for something extraordinary that would soon unfold in their household. By the time Oliver reached 6 months old, his personality began to shine through. He was an observant baby who loved watching everything around him, but his favorite sight was Max. The golden retriever had become more than a pet to Oliver. He was his constant companion and source of comfort. During tummy time, Oliver would stretch his tiny hands toward Max, trying to touch the dog's soft fur. Max would lie perfectly still, allowing the baby to grab his ears or pat his nose. The dog's patience seemed endless, even when Oliver's grip was a bit too tight or when tiny fingers pulled at his whiskers. Sarah and Mike marveled at how Max seemed to anticipate Oliver's needs. When the baby was hungry, Max would go to the kitchen and look meaningfully at the parents. When Oliver needed a diaper change, Max would sniff delicately and then look toward the changing table. The dog had become an interpreter for their son's needs. As Oliver grew more mobile, beginning to roll over and sit up, Max adjusted his protective position accordingly. The dog learned to stay close enough to cushion any potential falls, but far enough away to give the baby space to explore. It was like watching a professional bodyguard in action, except this one had 4 legs and a wagging tail. The pediatrician, Dr. Patricia Wells, was amazed during Oliver's checkups when Sarah described the relationship between her son and their dog. She had seen many families with pets, but the level of communication and care that Max showed was extraordinary. Dr. Wells encouraged the family to document this special bond, sensing that something remarkable was developing. Oliver's first attempts at crawling were met with Max's gentle encouragement. The dog would lie a few feet away, tail wagging as if cheering the baby on. When Oliver managed to move forward even an inch, Max would give a soft, happy bark that seemed to say, "Good job." The baby would giggle in response, creating a cycle of motivation and reward. Neighbors often stopped by just to witness the incredible partnership between Oliver and Max. Mrs. Henderson from next door called them the dynamic duo, and she wasn't wrong. Whether Oliver was in his high chair, on his playmat, or taking a bath, Max was always positioned where he could see and protect his little human. The most touching moments came during bedtime routines. Max would follow the family upstairs, wait patiently during Oliver's bath, and then settle beside the crib as Sarah or Mike read bedtime stories. The dog's presence seemed to calm Oliver instantly, and the baby would often fall asleep with his hand hanging through the crib bars, resting on Max's head. As Oliver approached his first birthday, Sarah and Mike began to notice their son showing more interest in Max's movements. The baby would watch intently as the dog walked around the house, his eyes following every step. It was as if Oliver was studying Max, learning from his four-legged teacher about mobility and independence. Oliver's first birthday approached with excitement filling the Thompson household. The baby had mastered crawling and was beginning to pull himself up to standing position using furniture for support. Sarah and Mike eagerly anticipated their son's first steps, constantly encouraging him to take that magical first walk. Max seemed to sense the importance of this milestone too. The dog began demonstrating walking in slow motion near Oliver, as if teaching the baby how to move on 2 feet. He would walk very slowly across the living room, then turn to look at Oliver, who watched with fascination from his position holding onto the coffee table. During play sessions, Max would position himself just out of Oliver's reach while the baby stood holding furniture. The dog would wag his tail and make soft, encouraging sounds, almost as if he was calling Oliver to come closer. The baby would stretch his arms toward his furry friend, clearly wanting to reach him but not yet brave enough to let go of his support. Sarah's mother, Grandma Rose, visited frequently to help with Oliver and to witness the extraordinary bond between her grandson and Max. She had raised 5 children of her own but had never seen anything like the relationship between this baby and dog. Grandma Rose often said that Max understood Oliver better than most humans understood each other. The dog's protective instincts grew even stronger as Oliver became more mobile. Max would create a safe perimeter around the baby during playtime, gently nudging away any objects that might be dangerous. When Oliver crawled toward stairs or sharp corners, Max would calmly position himself as a barrier, redirecting the baby's attention to safer areas. One afternoon, while Sarah was folding laundry in the living room, she noticed Max exhibiting unusual behavior. The dog was pacing back and forth between her and Oliver, who was standing at the couch trying to reach a toy that had fallen just beyond his grasp. Max kept looking from the baby to the toy and back again as if he was problem-solving. Suddenly, Max gently picked up the toy in his mouth and placed it within Oliver's reach. The baby squealed with delight and clapped his hands. But instead of grabbing the toy, Oliver kept his eyes fixed on Max, studying the dog's movement with intense concentration. It was as if a light bulb had turned on in the baby's mind. From that moment forward, Oliver seemed more determined to move independently. He would spend longer periods standing without support, wobbling but trying to maintain his balance. Max would sit nearby, perfectly still, as if he understood that his presence alone was providing Oliver with the confidence to try new things. The family began to notice that Oliver was most confident and adventurous when Max was around. With his parents, the baby was cautious and careful, but with Max nearby, Oliver seemed willing to take bigger risks, to push his boundaries and to explore his physical capabilities. The dog had become not just a protector but also a source of courage for the growing toddler. As autumn turned to winter, the stage was set for something extraordinary to happen in the Thompson household. Oliver was getting stronger every day, and Max continued to be his faithful companion and teacher, unknowingly preparing for a moment that would touch the hearts of everyone who heard the story. Oliver's first birthday approached with excitement filling the Thompson household. The baby had mastered crawling and was beginning to pull himself up to standing position using furniture for support. Sarah and Mike eagerly anticipated their son's first steps, constantly encouraging him to take that magical first walk. Max seemed to sense the importance of this milestone too. The dog began demonstrating walking in slow motion near Oliver, as if teaching the baby how to move on 2 feet. He would walk very slowly across the living room, then turn to look at Oliver, who watched with fascination from his position holding onto the coffee table. During play sessions, Max would position himself just out of Oliver's reach while the baby stood holding furniture. The dog would wag his tail and make soft, encouraging sounds, almost as if he was calling Oliver to come closer. The baby would stretch his arms toward his furry friend, clearly wanting to reach him but not yet brave enough to let go of his support. Sarah's mother, Grandma Rose, visited frequently to help with Oliver and to witness the extraordinary bond between her grandson and Max. She had raised 5 children of her own, but had never seen anything like the relationship between this baby and dog. Grandma Rose often said that Max understood Oliver better than most humans understood each other. The dog's protective instincts grew even stronger as Oliver became more mobile. Max would create a safe perimeter around the baby during playtime, gently nudging away any objects that might be dangerous. When Oliver crawled toward stairs or sharp corners, Max would calmly position himself as a barrier, redirecting the baby's attention to safer areas. One afternoon, while Sarah was folding laundry in the living room, she noticed Max exhibiting unusual behavior. The dog was pacing back and forth between her and Oliver, who was standing at the couch trying to reach a toy that had fallen just beyond his grasp. Max kept looking from the baby to the toy and back again as if he was problem-solving. Suddenly, Max gently picked up the toy in his mouth and placed it within Oliver's reach. The baby squealed with delight and clapped his hands. But instead of grabbing the toy, Oliver kept his eyes fixed on Max, studying the dog's movement with intense concentration. It was as if a light bulb had turned on in the baby's mind. From that moment forward, Oliver seemed more determined to move independently. He would spend longer periods standing without support, wobbling but trying to maintain his balance. Max would sit nearby, perfectly still, as if he understood that his presence alone was providing Oliver with the confidence to try new things. The family began to notice that Oliver was most confident and adventurous when Max was around. With his parents, the baby was cautious and careful, but with Max nearby, Oliver seemed willing to take bigger risks, to push his boundaries and to explore his physical capabilities. The dog had become not just a protector but also a source of courage for the growing toddler. As autumn turned to winter, the stage was set for something extraordinary to happen in the Thompson household. Oliver was getting stronger every day, and Max continued to be his faithful companion and teacher, unknowingly preparing for a moment that would touch the hearts of everyone who heard the story. Winter arrived early that year, bringing snow that covered the Thompsons' backyard in a pristine white blanket. Oliver, now 13 months old, was fascinated by the snow visible through the large living room windows. Max would often stand beside him at the window, both of them watching the snowflakes fall in comfortable silence. The cold weather meant more indoor time, which intensified the bond between Oliver and Max. They had developed their own daily routines that amazed the family. Every morning, Max would go to Oliver's crib and wait patiently for the baby to wake up. When Oliver stirred, Max would give a gentle woof to alert Sarah and Mike that their son was ready to start the day. During breakfast, Max had learned to position himself strategically under Oliver's high chair, not to beg for food but to catch any spills before they hit the floor. The dog seemed to understand that cleaning up after the baby was part of his job description. Oliver would often drop pieces of toast or banana slices deliberately, giggling when Max quickly cleaned them up. Sarah noticed that Oliver had become more vocal when Max was around. The baby would babble constantly to the dog, using inflections and tones that sounded almost like conversation. Max would tilt his head and listen intently, occasionally responding with soft barks or whimpers that seemed perfectly timed to Oliver's chatter. The most remarkable development was Oliver's increasing stability when standing. He could now stand unsupported for several seconds at a time, but only when Max was nearby. With his parents, Oliver still insisted on holding onto furniture or their hands. But with Max watching, the baby seemed to find an inner confidence that surprised everyone. Dr. Wells, during Oliver's routine checkup, confirmed what the family already knew. Oliver was developmentally ahead of most babies his age, in terms of emotional intelligence and social awareness. She attributed much of this to his constant interaction with Max, explaining that children who grow up with devoted pets often develop enhanced empathy and communication skills. One snowy Tuesday afternoon, something shifted in the household dynamic. Oliver had been standing at the coffee table, playing with his favorite wooden blocks when one fell and rolled across the room. Instead of crying or pointing for help, Oliver looked directly at Max, who was lying nearby on his favorite rug. The dog and baby stared at each other for a long moment, as if having a silent conversation. Then Max did something he had never done before. Instead of retrieving the toy for Oliver, the dog stood up, walked to where the block had stopped, and then looked back at Oliver expectantly. Sarah, who was watching from the kitchen doorway, held her breath. Max was clearly encouraging Oliver to come get the toy himself. The dog remained perfectly still, his tail wagging slowly. His eyes locked on Oliver's face with an expression that seemed to say, "You can do this." Oliver let go of the coffee table and stood independently, swaying slightly but maintaining his balance. He looked at the toy, then at Max, then back at the toy. The baby's determination was visible on his little face. He wanted that block, and more importantly, he wanted to reach his best friend. For several seconds, nothing happened. Oliver stood alone in the middle of the living room while Max waited patiently across the room. The tension in the air was palpable as everyone sensed that something momentous was about to occur. This was the moment that would change everything for the Thompson family and create a memory they would treasure forever. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood about Oliver's remarkable first steps. Sarah couldn't contain her excitement and called Grandma Rose immediately, describing every detail of the magical moment. Soon, friends and neighbors were stopping by to hear the story firsthand and to witness the incredible bond between Oliver and Max. Mrs. Henderson from next door brought her camera to capture Oliver's newfound walking skills. The baby was happy to demonstrate, but only when Max was present and encouraging him. Without his canine companion nearby, Oliver would revert to crawling or insist on holding someone's hand. It became clear that Max wasn't just a witness to Oliver's first steps. He was an essential part of the baby's confidence and mobility. Dr. Wells was fascinated when Sarah shared the story during Oliver's next appointment. The pediatrician explained that children often take their first steps toward the person or thing that makes them feel most secure and loved. The fact that Oliver chose to walk to Max spoke volumes about the depth of their relationship and the sense of safety the dog provided. The story began to spread beyond their immediate circle when Sarah shared it on social media. The post, accompanied by a video Mike had managed to capture of Oliver walking to Max, went viral within days. Comments poured in from around the world, with people sharing their own stories of special bonds between children and pets. Local news stations picked up the story, and soon reporters were knocking on the Thompsons' door, wanting to interview the family about their extraordinary dog and the baby who chose him for his first steps. Max, ever the gentleman, seemed to understand his newfound fame and posed patiently for photographs while Oliver clung to his neck. The attention brought unexpected opportunities. A children's book publisher contacted the family about turning their story into a picture book that could inspire other families. A local pet therapy organization invited Max to become a certified therapy dog, recognizing his natural ability to connect with and comfort people. But for Oliver and Max, none of the outside attention mattered. Their daily routines continued unchanged. Every morning brought new walking adventures around the house, with Max serving as Oliver's patient teacher and safety net. The dog seemed to understand exactly how much help Oliver needed and adjusted his support accordingly. As Oliver's walking skills improved, Max began introducing new challenges. The dog would walk slightly faster, encouraging Oliver to speed up. He would change directions, teaching the baby to navigate turns and corners. When Oliver mastered walking on flat surfaces, Max would lead him to the gentle slope of the hallway, helping him learn to manage different terrains. Sarah and Mike marveled at Max's instinctive understanding of child development. The dog seemed to know exactly when to push Oliver a little further, and when to provide comfort and stability. It was as if Max had attended some special school for canine child development specialists. The most touching aspect of their relationship was the mutual trust and affection that grew stronger with each passing day. Oliver would seek out Max whenever he felt unsure or frightened. Max would position himself wherever Oliver needed him most, whether that was beside the high chair during meals, next to the bathtub during bath time, or on the floor beside Oliver's bed during nap time. Friends often asked Sarah if she felt jealous that her son's first steps had been directed toward the dog rather than toward her or Mike. The question always made her smile, because the answer was so clear in her heart. She felt nothing but gratitude for the amazing gift that Max had given their family and the confidence he had instilled in their son. Years passed, and the special bond between Oliver and Max only grew stronger. By the time Oliver turned 3, he was running and jumping with the confidence that Max had helped him build during those crucial early months. The dog, now showing some gray around his muzzle, remained Oliver's constant companion and protector. The story of Oliver's first steps to Max had become legendary in their community. Parents would bring their toddlers to meet the famous duo, hoping some of that magical connection might inspire their own children. Max seemed to understand his role as a confidence builder for young children, and was always gentle and encouraging with his small visitors. Oliver learned to read using books about dogs, and his first full sentence was, "Max is my best friend." When he started preschool, Oliver would tell anyone who would listen about his special dog and how Max had taught him to walk. Teachers were amazed by Oliver's empathy and kindness toward both animals and other children, qualities they attributed to his unique upbringing with Max. The children's book based on their story was published and became a bestseller, with proceeds donated to animal rescue organizations. Schools across the country began inviting Oliver, Max, and the Thompson family to share their story, inspiring countless children to develop positive relationships with animals. Max officially became a certified therapy dog and began visiting hospitals and nursing homes with the family. Oliver would walk beside Max during these visits, helping to distribute comfort and joy to patients. The sight of the boy and his devoted dog brought smiles to faces that hadn't smiled in months. As Oliver grew older, he began to understand how special his relationship with Max truly was. He would often tell people that Max hadn't just taught him to walk. He had taught him about love, loyalty, and courage. The dog had shown him that the best kind of love is patient, protective, and unconditional. When Oliver turned 5, the family decided to get a puppy to eventually take over Max's therapy work when the older dog was ready to retire. Oliver named the puppy Hope and took on the responsibility of training her, using the same patience and gentleness that Max had shown him years earlier. The circle of love and learning continued as Oliver taught Hope the same lessons Max had taught him. Watching Oliver work with the puppy, Sarah and Mike could see Max's influence in every interaction. Their son had learned to be a teacher and protector, just like his canine mentor. Max's legacy extended far beyond his own family. The story of Oliver's first steps had inspired therapy dog programs in hospitals across the country. Researchers began studying the bond between children and animals more seriously, leading to new understanding about the therapeutic benefits of pet companionship for child development. Even as Max aged and slowed down, his devotion to Oliver never wavered. The dog might take longer naps and move more carefully, but he still positioned himself near Oliver during important moments. When Oliver had nightmares, Max was there. When Oliver felt nervous about starting kindergarten, Max provided the comfort and confidence he needed. The Thompson family often reflected on how a simple moment, a baby taking his first steps toward his beloved dog, had changed not only their lives but the lives of countless others who heard their story. It served as a beautiful reminder that love, patience, and devotion can create miracles in the most ordinary moments. Oliver and Max's story became a testament to the extraordinary bonds that can form between humans and animals, proving that sometimes the most important steps we take in life are the ones that lead us toward unconditional love and unwavering friendship.